friends, this is Tony Cañas, and today I want to tell you about 3 types of insurance companies that will benefit from the post-COVID remote working world, and 2 that will suffer because of it when it comes to talent retention and talent recruiting. It is super important to understand that the world has changed. Your employees and the employees of every other insurance company in the country, maybe the world, but definitely in the US, have shown that they are able to be productive from home, and that not only have they shown you that, they've shown themselves that. They've proven to themselves that if they so wish, they are perfectly able, and the technology exists for them to be perfectly productive at home. Some of them will be happy to come back to the office. Many won't, at least not 5 or 4 times a week. So the world has changed, and we've been accelerated forward 5 to 10 years. And there are 3 types of companies, of insurance companies, that will definitely benefit in the new world. Number 1, the large carriers who had already invested in being fantastic at remote. In my observation, that is USAA and The Hartford, both fantastic carriers, among many other fantastic carriers, but those 2 fantastic carriers had already invested prior to COVID in becoming really good at remote, and they had developed a reputation of being really good at remote. They will benefit from that going forward. This will make recruiting and retention a lot easier for those carriers. Those are the 2 that I'm familiar with. There might be others that have seriously invested in their remote work capabilities prior to the pandemic. Number 2, rural carriers who recognize the opportunity. Rural carriers, and there's many rural carriers, many great rural carriers, have always had a disadvantage when it comes to talent. On one hand, they tend to be located in really low cost of living areas, which make them attractive, but on the other hand, they have always had a hard time attracting talent from the major markets. Because if you get used to living in Chicago or New York City or San Francisco or Boston, or even Atlanta, Georgia, or Dallas, Texas, it's very hard to make a move to Des Moines, Iowa, or Columbus, Ohio, and those are really small metros. It's even harder to make a move to Westfield Center, Ohio, or to Erie, Pennsylvania, or other truly remote areas of the country that have great carriers based in them. So rural carriers who recognize this opportunity and transform themselves to be fantastic places to work remotely for will really benefit. My favorite case that I've run into thus far is Westfield Insurance, who was already in the process of this great reinvention of the company as an employer, and was already becoming a really good 2 or 3 day a week remote work employer. This has only played into their hand. Now they were ready for it. They were ready to be a great remote employer for people in areas that historically have not worked for them. And finally, the third company that will really benefit from the third type of company that will really benefit from the new post-COVID remote talent marketplace is any other carrier that learns to be super flexible, even if they're not ready for remote people. So what I mean by that is, well, the best practice will be being good at remote. If you can at least learn to be flexible, you can do things like, okay, I don't need you to relocate. I understand that it is a 3 or 4 hour commute for you. How about you come in once a week? Or how about I don't need you to relocate, but how about you spend a week a month here, and we'll pay for your flight and your hotel to spend a week a month here, at least at the beginning. And any other sort of flexible arrangements, and I'm seeing more and more of those where we're not quite cool with you being fully remote 100% starting today from the very beginning when you haven't proven yourself to the company yet, but let's find flexible ways to make it work that don't require you to move your family here and don't require you to be away from your family an excessive amount of time. So any sort of those flexible models, if you can get there, you will be one of those carriers that benefits from the new talent market within the insurance industry. And 2 types of carriers that will lose talent in the new environment. Number 1, rural carriers that are used to what I want to term retention by geography. So basically rural carriers who have historically hired local kids, kind of right out of college, right out of high school, that want to stay in the local area, train them to be great insurance professionals, and then retain them largely by being the only game in town, so to speak, right? So if you want to stay in this local area and you want to continue working in insurance, the only game in town is this one carrier. And there's a few carriers, I obviously won't name them by name, but there's a few that I'm aware of that have historically done that. And they're not bad places to work at, but they pay significantly under market, and they have survived on people, their local kids wanting to stay locally, basically. So if you train them, you grow them within the company, and they will stay with you even if you're paying significantly on the market. That's not going to work anymore, because those kids will now have lots of options that don't require them to move away from their hometown areas that they love. Be careful. And number two type of carrier that will likely lose talent in the new world is any carrier that doesn't finally realize that bought on seat time is simply not a good measure for productivity. Any carrier that continues to be old-fashioned enough to think that even after your people showed you for months and months and months of COVID that they were able and willing and ready to deliver the right amount of productivity and get things done and continue succeeding, continue getting the job done successfully remotely, if the moment that they have a vaccine, you go like, you have to come back to the office, quite simply, right? Lip service won't work on this one. You have to find new ways to measure people that truly measure productivity and not bought on seat time. I hope this helps. If you are concerned about the carrier you work at, or if you're in the leadership of said carrier, I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to help you guys find better ways to do it. We can find you a consultant to help you implement the right program. I'd love to have just a culture conversation. I'd love to come speak, whatever I can do to help. I would love to help get you and the company that you work for to the right place where you'll be in the best possible place to retain and attract awesome talent going forward in the post-COVID talent market within the insurance industry. Thank you.